feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much rock and roll that once was is lost, for none now live who played in their cars while driving around. 27 years ago, a last alliance of dreadlocked white boys and proto-gent guitarists marched against the armies of technically assisted pop music, and on the very slopes of Woodstock 99, they fought for the freedom of rock and roll. Victory was near, but the power of the top 40 could not be undone. It was in this moment, when all hope had faded, Limp Bizkit took up George Michael's song, Faith. The Billboard rock chart had passed to Fred Durst, who had this one chance to destroy evil forever. But the hearts of nu metal frontmen are easily corrupted, and rock and roll has a will of its own. It betrayed Durst to an ironically titled poor follow-up album called Results May Vary. And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. 70s art punk became legend, legend became myth, and for 2 or 3 years, simple guitar, bass, drums based rock music played by mimbos who sometimes kiss each other passed out of all knowledge. Until, when chance came, it ensnared a new kid from New York whose parents' names are blue links on Wikipedia. This week on the Indy 500 podcast, it's The Strokes. Is This It?
You're listening to the Indy 500 podcast, where each week we break down a different randomly selected album from Enemy Magazine's Top 500 Albums of All Time list, where not only do none of our parents' names have blue links on Wikipedia, we aren't even on Wikipedia. Thanks for listening, and feel free to submit a Wikipedia page on us, as a
Yes, please do.
Easter gift? I don't know.
You think we deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. Or please leave us a review, a rating. Find us on TikTok to see what we're listening to on a daily basis. Enjoy the show.
This episode is brought to you by The Strokes. Is This It? Officially licensed pregnancy tests. So, you've been trying your luck alone together, and now you're asking the question, is this it? And now you can know, with the only pregnancy test endorsed by Julian and crew, The Strokes. Just pee on this stick, and in a few minutes you'll know if someday you'll look back and say, this is when it started. So, if last night was hard to explain, don't settle. Buy the officially licensed Is This It pregnancy test. Also, disclaimer, last night is only a song title reference. Reliable test results will only show 7 or more days after sexual contact.
It's an important note, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Legal had me had to have me put that in there.
Thanks, Legal.
1, 2, 2, 2. Jump 2. Jump 2. Okay.
All right. It is April in this here year of 2026, the age of man, and we are a week and a half into baseball's return. And I can't help but think when all-time cheesiest songs by great artists come to mind, what pops up for me? Center Field by John Fogerty. Put me in, coach, I'm ready to play. There's maybe one good song about baseball, and it's the parody song on the Simpsons softball episode. Where Mr. Burns had won it, the power plant, or Mr. Burns had done it, the power plant had won it, and they talk about all the players. Otherwise, it's not good. But that begs the question for me, what's maybe a cringeworthy moment or moments from an otherwise great artist that pops to mind for you?
Yeah, so I had 2 also rans before I bury the the target I chose. One of them not so bad, but I feel like it deserves mentioning. On the Interpol album Our Love to Admire, there's a Menage a Trois themed song, which includes the lyric, which is also the title. There's no I in threesome. And there's actually a couple different lyrics that kind of slyly reference it. And this one I think is it's a bit of a wink. It's not unintentional. So I still think they were playing with fire for that with that one.
Yeah, I mean it's humorous, but
That's clearly a bumper sticker that that somebody had seen and then was like, you know what?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but not the worst. The other also ran. I had the new Hives album. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Forever the Hives Forever. I lost it. Anyway, that album kicks off with their frontman Pil Almquist singing the lyric, and I quote, "Everyone's a little fucking bitch, and I'm getting sick and tired of it." Which, in addition to being that's a little first that feels a little first drafty, like, okay, you can have that there for now, but we're gonna need to come back and rewrite this, right? Like,
Did you find like a notebook from like 1998 or something like that? Feels a
yeah.
little like, yeah.
Yeah. In addition to being a little first drafty, it's also skirting a little close to being like everyone is woke. Which is not something the Hives generally do have fun being kind of, punky and anti everything, but yeah, that was
It's a little old man
a little
punk.
spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very modern day Chappelle, Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the winner actually is Win Butler and Arcade Fire, who have a couple different ones. So the first one that jumped out at me was it's kind of it's kind of a jump the shark moment, or maybe like a breaking of the dam, because this is kind of where it first starts. Is there's a track on an album I otherwise love from the Suburbs called "We Used to Wait," which it might be sitting in and representing things, but still, it's about it's Win Butler saying, "Hey, we used to write letters instead of like emailing." It's like, come on, man. And he does this many times after this, but I think this is the first time. And some of the lyrics are, "I used to write letters. I used to sign my name. I used to sleep at night before the flashing lights settled deep in my brain. Now our lives are changing fast. Hope that something pure can last. It seems strange how we used to wait for letters to arrive, but what's stranger still is how something so small can keep you alive." It's like, buddy,
I mean, Mr. Butler, it's not like you
you
lived
can
in the
still write
1780s.
letters. Nobody's stopping
Yeah,
you from writing letters.
right. The post office, I mean, this might be dated in a year, but the post office still exists.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, after this, he gets into stuff like the I think it's the album Everything Now has a song called Infinite Content, where he says another legendary lyric, "Infinite content, I am infinitely content."
I mean,
I guess I'm kind of seeing a theme for mine here. These are all like, besides Interpol, who I think did it on purpose, these are all like very like, yeah, like this is the first draft. Can we come back? like
Right,
you forgot,
right.
you the album was being recorded and you came to this and you were like, oh shit, I meant to write something else there, but I forgot.
I
That's
mean,
what
like
it feels like
that,
to me.
right? That statement alone feels like a good concept to write something about, But I don't know if like the literal words. I mean, clearly come off as just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, what did Borat, write this song or something? Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, the lyrics to like the title track of Everything Now have the same thing going on, but at least that one is actually a really good song. So I kind of, I can
That's
give it
fair.
a pass when that happens. Yeah, but I think worst of all is like their whole last album has like a returning theme that happens over and over again, which is about like the album is called Pink Elephant, and the theme is kind of like, you know, I'm saying don't think of the pink elephant, but you know, because you're saying it, you're thinking about it. So the whole like theme of the album is please don't think about something, and this is in the middle of sorry if somebody out there hasn't heard, but this is in the middle of Win Butler having like sex pest allegations, which is extremely extremely tone deaf, bad timing to release an album where you're like, can you just
ignore
not
it.
think about something and just let us like just let me do my let me do my thing? And it's like, well,
Can you just
yeah.
not do your thing? And,
Yeah, can you maybe shelf this for a couple of years or something? I don't know.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, rough,
Yikes.
rough.
Yeah.
Those are mine.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because yours and mine kind of in some ways are opposites. You had like the turtle tone deaf, and some of the ones that came to mind for me were like the oh my god, could you be any more obvious and like lame and cliche? So I just kind of like wrote for 3 minutes on ones that popped into my head. The first one, actually fitting enough because we're going to be talking about it probably a bit today. At one of the 9/11 benefits, Paul McCartney debuted a new song called Freedom. And it was just one of those like, hey, great, Paul McCartney's here. Wow, that's fucking cheesy. I mean, like, there's nothing great about that lyrically, you know. It's just like it for me. It's that same class of, you know, were you there when they built the ladder to heaven? Something something
Oh,
9/11.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
another
everybody was thrown off their game at that particular moment.
right,
Nobody.
totally.
I mean,
I mean,
between that and you know the benefit songs do tend to do this. So yeah,
yeah,
double whammy.
totally. You know, you had mentioned "We Are the World," but another '80s moment that kind of popped into my mind, and you know, for a while I didn't think this was a bad thing until I heard the core of the band think it was a bad thing. And now that we know more about who he went on to become, Phil Collins drumming for Led Zeppelin at Live Aid, you know, Page and Plant have pretty much like disavowed and separated themselves from. You know, they felt it sucked. Like, why would we try and replace, you know, John Bonham with Phil Collins? And then, yeah, I mean, Phil Collins went on to be, you know, the guy that tried to keep Timmy from going on stage at Hullabalala.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't
who would
forget
want
about
that?
that.
And, or divorced his wife via fax and, you know, married a 28-year-old. So, you know, it's just kind of one of those like, I probably would have died if I got to see that in person. But yeah, like in retrospect, a little cringy. This one, if you know, you know, the album Trans by Neil Young. It's not a LGBT thing for those unfamiliar with it. It's a early 80s electronic album by Neil Young, talking about cars and technology and stuff. Some genres just don't transfer over well. Another let's see, cringe moment, not necessarily music, but I think of Mr. Pete Townsend and his usage of the internet that got him in a little bit of trouble while trying to write musically. Very cringe. Like, I love the Who, but now I'm a little suspicious of your intent there.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a myriad of artists who have issues. You know, that exact same issue or like other issues where you're like, boy, I
yeah,
can't listen to this anymore. Like I was scrolling through my Spotify looking for answers to this question, and I'm like, oh, hi, Kanye, hi, Michael Jackson, like stuff that
mm-hmm.
really can't. Maybe if you can listen to it, like you can't listen to it with as much enthusiasm as you once did.
Right, right.
Hmm.
See, I have Jimmy Page participating with P. Diddy. I think it's one thing for a band to like license out a sample, but you know the fact he actually like jumped in the music video with P. Diddy and everything, like, come on, man, that's pretty lame of you.
Yeah, and that's very relevant to this episode too, because you know that's that 1999 '98 period where
How can we sell music
I mean
somehow? Yeah.
it's so symbolic. Jimmy Page not knowing what to do, not knowing how to deal with rap being ascendant, being like, well, I'll go play with P Diddy.
Right. Right.
Speaking yet again
This
of
one,
criminal artists who
yeah. I mean,
who
funny how all
recently
these are
have
kind of
besmirched their legacy.
the correlations here. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. These guys aren't criminal at all. They're actually good guys. But the song "Pretty Fly for a White Guy," man, Offspring to me in my early teenage years, like Smash and gosh, the album that came right after that, were like constantly on, really cool, like borderline punk rock type sound. And then they came out with this, and it was just kind of like, oh, this is flipping annoying, man. It's on MTV all the time, and so were some of the other songs.
we didn't have the term cringy back then, so we were left reaching for something, being like, "Ooh,
Right.
this
It was
is
just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we called them sellouts. Maybe we called them lame. I don't know, whatever it was. But it was just kind of one of those moments of like, this isn't the Offspring I know. Ugh.
yeah." I don't want to speak out of pocket, but I feel like maybe I'll search this as I'm talking, but I'm pretty sure there was a Bandsplain episode that was on The Offspring. Did you listen to that one?
I didn't, but I think I should.
Yeah. Okay. There's an episode, The Offspring with Daniel Cohn on Bandsplain, and I recall listening to that one. There's like moments over and over again where what's their main guy's name? There we
Dexter?
go. Yeah, Dexter has like a little bit of a like conservative and like anti-drug, like anti-lazy welfare queen like kind of streak to him. So maybe there is a
Well, he's like
there.
literally a doctorate or science guy, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
yeah, he's
If I
kind of
remember right.
cut from a different cloth, so to speak.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not from the streets.
No. I skipped one that I want to come back to, and then the next one that popped into my mind, just because it was such a popular song, and I like the band still, but the song lyric "Your Sex Is on Fire" by Kings of Leon, all it does is make me think of gonorrhea, and it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
what does
that's
that
not
even mean, man? Yeah, like I know that's not what they mean, but come on, it's kind of just cringy. And the last one, it kind of goes with the Paul McCartney one. Um, and I've heard it a lot because of like attending rallies and stuff like that. But the new Bruce Springsteen song about Minneapolis, like I love the thought behind it. I love
Yeah.
the effort. I love the acknowledgement. But like the lyrics are just so literal and hokey at times. It's kind of like one of those, it's anthemic for the time, but like in 5 years, I'm probably just going to be like, oh God, can we skip this one?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah, I don't mind
I
catching some
kind of
bullets
gave
on
him a
that, but
pass on that because I feel like, I mean, I feel like there's a history of '60s, '70s protest song that's kind of like that, and also he like wrote and produced it like in a weekend or something like that.
right, right.
Because he was
I
trying,
mean,
he was trying to get it out like while the shit was still going on. So yeah, I felt the same way, but I think he has extenuating circumstance.
no, and again, that's where I'm kind of like, this isn't the same class as these other things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just felt acknowledging like, songs in that moment sometimes can kind of come across, cheesy. If I
Sign everywhere. Sign.
right, if I was
Ice,
alive in
ice everywhere.
1970 and I heard Ohio by, CSNY, like it starts off 4 Dead in Ohio, like I'd probably be like, ugh, wow, great, you wrote a song just by a newspaper clipping. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
But
that
you
one
know,
stays
it
all time.
exactly. But again, love the effort, love the sentiment, love to see how he continuously shows up for that city too.
Yeah.
This is a New Jersey guy, and he's showing up in Minneapolis to do these rallies, just kick off his tour, to just give them love, and it's hard to fault him for that, but that doesn't mean I can't be an over analytical dick and you know deride his lyrics a little
It's
bit.
our show. We're loud. We're loud.
Exactly, exactly. But I guess on that note, now you can make fun of my lyrics if you want. I guess we should hit a theme.
Hit it.
Hit it. All
Nailed
right,
it.
that was the Angioplasties with their song "List Night."
List night.
List
Yeah.
Night. All
There
right,
you
but
go.
here we are. We are back, and as Brady said at the top, in such Tolkien manners, we are here to discuss The Strokes. Is this it? Is the big one? Number 4 on the
Number
Enemy Top
4.
500
We
albums
have
of all time list. Wow.
we haven't hit a top 10 before this, have we? I don't think we have.
No, I mean the closest we had was Spinal Tap's "Smell the Glove" at
11.
number 11.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
Otherwise, yeah, wild. So, needless to say, we grew up right around the peak of these guys. We're both very familiar, aren't we?
Yeah. This was one of those weeks where you get to listen to other albums because
Yeah.
there's no danger of being unfamiliar with this album as you as you come into this
No,
week.
if anything, the danger is like over listening to it in preparation and getting, annoyed that you've heard it so many damn times.
Yeah, beginning to form meta analysis
Hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah. Well, I believe you've got a bit of artist history to lay on us. Is that right?
History man? A word burger, please.
All right. So the word burger is The Strokes. The members of The Strokes, if you're not familiar with all of them, obviously the lead guy, Julian Casablancas, the singer, went on to several side projects as well. Guitarist Albert Hammond Jr., other guitarist Nick Valenci, Nicolai Freitur on bass, and Fabrizio Moretti on drums. Three of those guys are NYC born, kind of part of the mystique, the aura. That's Julian, Nick, and Nicolai. Fabrizio moved to New York City after being born in Rio de Janeiro, of all places, and Albert is an LA transplant. So, as far as origins of the band, Julian and Albert first met at Swiss boarding school in the early 90s. That's where I met you, right? We met
Of
at,
course.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a little bit of a glimpse into, their social status or whatever.
hmm their background and perhaps
Yeah, boarding
some of
school
their,
in Sweden.
as we kind of come to learn too, one of their there's sore spots, I think, when it comes to people commenting on them and kind of judging them a little bit on preconceived notions. But then, yeah, after meeting in the early 90s, Julian then returned home to New York to attend another private school called the Dwight School, which is a private college prep school where he met Nick, Fabrizio, and Nikolai. Again, like, there's a lot of kind of shit and mud slung around about them being posers, rich kids, a manufactured band, almost kind of all of the Sex Pistols, because Julian's dad, John, was a well-known modeling agent and talent scout. So, like, who better to put together just a group of guys, to sell an image and make some music. But so the four guys had started together, bonded over music, grunge type stuff, classic rock at school. And they played their first show together in 1996 at a small house party hosted by Nick's older sister. They kept playing together. In 1998, Albert had moved to New York City to attend film school and actually was able to reconnect with Julian and became the fifth member of the band and the de facto lead guitarist.
Did you ever find out, did he play much guitar before joining up with the band?
It sounds like, from what I read, he played, but he wasn't like serious about it. He was enjoying it, and then kind of once he got back to New York with them and really kind of saw where they were going with this, they actually enlisted like a guitar teacher and kind of, dare I say, like a guitar educator, somebody that was like turning them on to newer music and like different influences, like saying, hey, go check out this old blues album, go check out this, and kind of a musical guru, so to speak, to guide them a little bit. And kind of from there, once it was
I
like,
mentioned him at some point later.
yeah, from there they realized like, hey, this might be something. It definitely buckled down and got good, kind of the Bill and Ted, like, I guess we better learn to play our instruments type moment. It says you have a Brady break-in note here. What do you got for me?
So here I had a quote from James Endicott. I think this comes from a Vice.com oral history of the album, but James is the band's A&R man at their UK label Rough Trade, and he says, quote, they did everything with a certain attitude. They were very cocky, but not in an arrogant way, just very sure of themselves. Plus, the five of them were in each other's pockets 24/7, and that helped. There were a lot of high fives and a lot of cuddles. The band was so tactile around that point. Everybody cuddled everybody. So I feel like, I guess it should be noted at this point that, like, basically every single write-up of the band at this moment in time mentions that they are unusually touchy-feely with each other. So we'll go right to Rolling Stone, who put it this way in their story about the Strokes at this moment. Spend much time around the Strokes, and you will see them kiss each other hard on the lips. Quote, in our band, Julian says, it's like a test of your manhood. Like, come on, don't be a pussy. Give me some tongue. The Strokes, all between 21 and 23 years old, display a loyalty fiercer than most lovers. And aside from the visible affection conveyed in the hugs, sloppy kisses, and semi-ironic high fives, there is an intangible camaraderie that can make everyone else feel like they're missing the punchline of an unspoken joke. Quote, with us, there's a level of humor and intimacy I've never felt with any other friend, Fab says. I can slap those guys' asses without feeling uncomfortable. That's more than you could say for a lot of people in the world. It's like we're past the point of brothers. Brothers wouldn't even do this stuff to each other. Now, Helio, I know I'm pretty sure you don't have a brother. I have two, and I can confirm brothers aren't doing this kind of stuff with each other.
No, I mean, like, funny enough, I think around that time, I considered, my friends, my brothers, and I tried to pull these stunts on you guys, like, the occasional slap in the ass when you weren't looking, or, dick tap or something like that, and usually did not go over very well, and usually kind of fair about a flack for it. So, no,
we were maybe like a generation or a few years away from being able to get away with that.
Exactly. No, I mean
But
it's not exactly like, gay hockey romance
it's
show
possible
here,
our
but yeah.
cover band would have done a lot better maybe if we had let that fly.
I mean, we lived in the area for it, in the Northwest. It was very open, not that there's anything wrong with
A
that.
little more
Uh,
progressive, yeah.
people's personal preferences are their own, and
Yeah.
such and such.
So and for anyone trying to revive rock and roll again in 2026, an ongoing project, something that apparently needs to be done every 5-10 years or so. You know, I'm not saying getting kind of gay with your bandmates was a key factor to the success of the Strokes, but do you really want to leave any stone unturned in your quest for stardom? I'm just saying you never know, right? Okay, I'm just saying. Anyway,
Uh,
back
I
back
think
to
as an
Halo with
asterisk to
the
all that,
band history.
take that Supreme Court and gay conversion therapy. We're going the other direction on you. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
no, we're
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 converting you too.
we're joining the war on conversion therapy, on the
Exactly.
side of the people who are being forced to go. Wait,
I mean, it's
I fucked that one up. We're
ah,
joining the war of, I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
you do you people. That's what we're trying
We're
to
on
say.
yeah
And
we're on your
try
side.
try it all. At the end of the day, though, it's kind of interesting because I think that Iggy Pop, David Bowie, there was
Yeah,
definitely something to that kind of like ambiguity, like
yeah.
love,
There's a long
romantic.
history of this.
Yeah. So it's not exactly foreign for the artist types to be a little, cuddly, as some of the articles have put it.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
the Beatles famously, you know, the that headline from like a couple of years ago where I think it was I think it was Paul had said that they
hmm
all kind of had self pleasure sessions together, and
totally.
the Sun or whoever it was, the New York Post went to town on the puns. I think my favorite was beat the Beatles,
I mean,
and
come
then there's the
together, is
yeah,
always
oh
good.
yeah, I was gonna say there's of course the main one, come together.
All right. Well,
So yeah,
now that we're gonna censor this episode up until Pride Month drops, I guess we probably start moving on here. At this point, the guys were committed to making it happen. They practiced and wrote for 6 months, every day, 8 to 10 hours a day. Definitely full time job in this. Um, again, the advantages of having folks that would kind of flip the bills for things. Uh,
yeah, but I mean this is kind of the best case scenario for your New York trust fund kid. I mean,
hmm
we're of course seeing other options now where you go and start a hedge fund, or and destroy the world, or
Right.
you create a tech company that sells our brains to the Pentagon or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't you much rather have them
Creating art, creating music.
forcibly become a really good guitar
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. I mean,
yeah,
I
this
only
this,
speak, in such terms because I'm jealous.
yeah, I mean, people get mad at them, but I mean, there's so much worse you could be doing with your funds.
Totally.
just
100%.
just just be happy.
Yeah, and like, I mean, obviously, we're here talking about the number four album. Like, they were
Yeah,
good at what they did,
they did it.
So like, as much as you want to be cynical assholes about their
Yeah,
options in
if they had
life,
failed, maybe maybe
right?
there'd be
Exactly.
more room to shit on them, but no,
Right. If we're talking about a
they won.
show of number four all time disgraced Wall Street CEOs and these guys come up, then yeah, fuck them. But no, this
Yeah.
is like, a defining album. So they had their first show September 14th, 1999, at a small venue called Spiral. Um, from what they, you know, told over the years, super small attendance, but you got to start somewhere. One thing that kind of endeared me, Julian was even puking, before the show from his nerves. And, these guys were serious. They cared, they wanted to kick ass, and they were, nervous wrecks leading up to it.
Yeah, I had a,
Still,
I had a,
still
I had
kids.
a quote from Albert that said, "We were so nervous before our first gig that we went to go see the Eddie Murphy film Bowfinger to calm us down."
That's a good one.
I
Wow.
I understand. That's also how I self-soothe. Is going to going to watch the Eddie
Eddie
Murphy
Murphy and
film
Steve Martin. I
Goldfinger.
mean, come on, how could you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, if we're looking at, Genesis dates, this is kind of the start of that burgeoning New York City rock revival scene that's documented in Lizzie Foreman's book, Meet Me in the Bathroom. That's with two E's, not MEAT, for those regular listeners. As
And or
2000
for
rolled
any of you who are
on,
in the Beatles.
well, at two. As 2000 rolled on, the band was still laser focused on rehearsing and writing. And if they weren't doing that, they were kind of out there hustling, passing out flyers for a show or even just playing one. They tried to keep to the smaller venues, the thinking being like, hey, let's get that exclusive underground buzz, where not everybody can come in and, it's not bigger venue after bigger venue. It's, hey, only 800 folks, only 500 folks. Oh man, were you there that night? Oh, I didn't get in. So it really made the shows must-see events, for this local New York band. Uh, on August 31st of 2000, they played a show at the Mercury Lounge, and the head booker there, Ryan Gentles, was so taken aback by the band that he offered himself to manage the band. As the buzz on the band grew, Gentles said the phone for the lounge was ringing more and more for the Strokes than actual venue bookings and inquiries. At this point, too, Gentles also started sending the band's demo out to record labels and started generating some buzz for them outside of New York. So in November of 2000, they recorded their first EP, The Modern Age, at Transportarium, a basement studio in New York City, which, conveniently enough for the mystique of the band, was right across the street from their favorite bar. Um, so they put that together in a couple days. The songs would later be redone for the first album. You had a note there, Mr. Brady?
Yeah, I've got a bit of an extended note here
Yeah, cool.
about the Modern Age EP. So the producer for those sessions is a guy named Gordon Raphael, who's actually originally from Seattle. He played in a few different Seattle bands, including Sky Cries Mary, who you may know.
Is it cumbersome?
Jesus, now you know.
Harold, sweet cold.
You put me on the
Or is
you
it
put me
Seven
on the
Mary
spot.
3?
You look. I believe that was Submarine.
Okay,
Look up Sky Cries Mary, see if you recognize anything. I
sure.
recognize the band name, but yeah, nothing like jumped out at me.
An
So hit
American
me if you
psychedelic
figure it out.
rock trance musical group from Seattle.
I know
Okay.
I've heard something from them. I just don't recall what.
I mean, I know The Wind Cries Mary is the Hendrix song, so I guess that's,
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
So he's an avid synth, like 70s synth band or fan. He played the organ and synth in many of the bands he was in. His recording style for bands at this particular studio is partly influenced by the kind of cramped quarters of the basement studio in New York. So he tends towards a more raw sound, recording tracks as like full performance with either all or multiple band members playing at once. He utilizes fewer microphones that tend to also pick up the other people playing at the same time.
A little
But
bleed through.
despite the kind of ramshackleness of that setup, Gordon does go out of his way to note that the that basement studio was equipped with a like state of the art Pro Tools system. So a little bit of past meets future here. The studio is
Yeah.
a little old school, but they're laying it down into a modern system there.
And that's only, I mean, like, Pro Tools is only, what, like 3-4 years of existence at that point, so it's still
Yeah.
relatively new.
Yeah, pretty new. So here's some quotes from Gordon Raphael via the story on this album from The Guardian. Hat tip to our Guardian friends, Mr. David Renshaw, Tim Jones, and perhaps future friend Laura Snapes. So he says,
Aspiring
quote,
friend, yes.
yeah, he says, quote, I had a little studio and I went around to the bands at the time saying, hey, I'm a recording guy. I could record you. And one night I went to a free gig and the first band, called Come On, were jaw-dropping. And I thought the second act, The Strokes, were a bit too stylish and pleased with themselves, but I gave them both my card. The Strokes called me back and I never heard from Come On. The Strokes wanted to record a demo so they could get a better level of club gig. So they cut a 3-day, $600 deal. And when they were playing in my basement, they sounded way more interesting than they did at that gig. They reminded me of the Velvet Underground. Though everybody thought guitar bands were over, the New York Times had actually just run a cover featuring an electric guitar as a gravestone.
Oh,
So that's a pretty big indicator of the time there. He
yeah.
said,
New
"We
York Times.
recorded."
You should count chickens before they hatch there for a living.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the New York Times, they're very rarely wrong about things. He said, "We recorded 3 songs: The Modern Age, Last Night, and Barely Legal. And someone at Rough Trade in London got a hold of it. And then my little demo made NME Single of the Week."
That'd do it.
Yeah.
All it takes is one. Yeah,
And
so there's a
back to you.
kind of for that rough trades thing. There's a little bit of an exaggerated narrative out there. Part of just the urban myth of that Gentles had played the demo over the phone to one of the agents at Rough Trade Records, didn't even send it to him, and just from the first 15 seconds, he agreed to sign the band for UK distribution. Like, I don't know. I mean, why not? It's probably closer to a minute and a half, but
Yeah.
it
I
gets
mean,
shorter
these are
and shorter
pretty-
every time.
These are pretty immediate songs when you listen to them.
Right, exactly. I mean, last night's probably the one that takes the longest to get to the point, and yeah, it's what, 12 seconds. I mean, so it makes sense. And then there's another note about from Raphael here. I'll read this one. When Albert told me Rough Trade were going to release these demos as an EP, my first impression was, "Do you want to come back and fix them up? Shall we mix it properly?" Oh no, they like it this way. Once I understood a label was going to put out the music, I realized, wow, something's happening here. Raphael says during the period the band was being written about in Rolling Stone, despite not being signed in the U.S., a very rare happening. That is kind of I remember that idea of like
he in that quote that I pulled that from, he claims it hadn't happened since the 60s, and I'm like, it had to have happened at least once since the 60s. But still, I understand that it's
Like,
it is a rare thing.
yeah, there's something to be said for like, oh wow, where's this band gonna sign? Where is this band gonna wind up? So
Yeah.
curious. Like whoever gets these guys, yeah, they got it made. And no, that was kind of an interesting idea that like these guys are breaking through without, the big machine behind them. So at this point, the band had strategically signed with RCA Records for the United States and global distribution because they wanted the big sales, but they still wanted that indie record buzz, so they stayed with Rough Trade for that. Kind of a have your cake and eat it too, I think, guess. Look like the indie band, but have the major rock band, distribution powers. Worked out for them just fine. There was quite a bidding war between the big labels after the band had won over the crowd at a South by Southwest gig, as well as a residency at the Bowery in New York City that had folks lined up trying to get in. Now, I don't know if Lawrence Fishburne and the Bowery King was there, but maybe, hopefully. But May of 2001 put the world on notice as our beloved NME magazine published a feature about them while they're working on the album. And what better time to take a
Break!
Is there a problem, Davy?
Well, Dad, there was only one dew left. Tommy said it was his, I said it was mine, and we began to fight, and it was wrong. We're sorry.
Boys, why don't you give me the Mountain Dew? Now let that be a lesson to you.
What just happened here?
We got hosed, Tommy. We got hosed.
Oh, Davy.
So it might have been a little more obvious last week, but yeah, we've started to feature era-specific commercials on our episode. So that is a very 2001
Oh yeah, I mean,
product
I
and
think
commercial.
Mountain Dew. It was kind of the beginning of the flavor variations wave that we're just now all too comfortable with. I mean, you can walk through the store and find 9 derivatives of each soda, but then it was like, oh, what is this Mountain Dew Code Red? Holy shit!
Red
Mountain Dew Orange, and there's a Slurpee for it now. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Which is funny because for like at least a decade before that, like my dad's preferred drink would be like Mountain Dew that he had put like the cherry grenadine sauce in. So he had been red alerting before red alerting was a thing.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, uh, the- not that we're getting any money for this positive banter about Mountain Dew, but yeah, I could put them away back then, and even the Safeway generic ones were still damn pleasing.
Was it like Mountain Breeze?
Yeah, Mountain
Or was
Mist,
something
Mountain
it was,
Breeze,
it was something
Morning Dew.
There was a few.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something.
who knows? All right, so yeah, usually this time, any news items of the week, any thoughts from around the world you want to throw out there?
Well, I know something that snuck up on us, or at least me, that that you were very into is, and I don't think we talked about them last week on the pod, which means we probably haven't talked about them on the pod just yet, but Engine de Poitvin had a new album that dropped yesterday.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, so if you haven't seen, they kind of broke out on the internet via a it was like a, is it an NPR thing? Well, anyways, it's like
Yeah,
a live,
KEXP. Yeah,
Yeah, it was at KEXP. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a live public radio performance of theirs. I think it's about a half hour long. But they are a Quebecois duo, I believe, masked and costumed, who play kind of a two-man band. At least I assume it's two men, like a two-man band thing that's kind of,
Two entities. We'll leave it at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of kicked up an extra gear from like the White Stripes and Hella type thing, because their guitarist is utilizing looping and also has a double-necked guitar where one of them is a bass. So like they're covering a lot more ground than your usual two-man
And
band.
and the guitar itself on the double neck is microtonal, so it gets some of those more Eastern uh, scale possibilities. I think it's supposed to be 36 notes instead of 12 or 24, something
Yeah.
like that.
So
Where
if
it's
you're
just
if you're just listening, you're trying to imagine that there's basically like extra frets in between where the frets are on the guitar, giving them access to like, yeah, like middle notes in between your traditional guitar notes.
yeah. I mean, if you've listened to much King Gizzard in the past, it might be kind of a familiar sound, but otherwise it's a very unique and not really something that's in a lot of Western music at this point. So it's kind of cool to see it having a moment. And I don't know, I made the comment yesterday, like, could this be the next like gent movement? We start seeing like microtonal guitars and, more artists, veering towards that and utilizing it in like instrumental and rock form. I don't know. I mean, maybe, there's always room for innovation and adding new things to the rock milieu. So maybe this is it.
Yeah, but they're very good. Definitely go check them out.
Yeah, the new work is Volume 2. It's 6-track EP, more or less, kind of an extended play, 36 minutes. So it's not like it's a super long listen, but yeah, all instrumental apart from the occasional like alien tones that they like to speak in every once in a while.
Yeah, they have like a cool like signature like whacked out vocal effect that
Totally.
they use every once in a while, which is
Totally it.
a
Yeah,
fun
they're
sauce to throw in there.
they're fun. I don't. Yeah, if you like things like King Crimson, Buckethead, Primus, King Gizzard, quirky, but still musically really impressive. It's something to check out for sure.
I also had written down here recap the tournament albums. So not last episode. Last episode we talked to Enemy former writer Tim Jones about his time at Enemy and the Strokes. But the episode before that, if you haven't heard it, we ran a tournament where we put up a bunch of albums that aren't on the NME list and basically said like, what are we going to make number 501, and queue up for some future episodes of albums that they had like blasphemously left off their list. So let me. I just wanted to recap. We ended up with 4. We had fellow host Kyle Reif. He was with us on that record. So basically, each one of us hosts, him and then a like general other contributor, all had our own brackets, and we came down to 4 albums that we are going to do episodes on sometime in the future, which ended up being from the Helio bracket, the Cars self-titled album, from Kyle's bracket, Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever. From my bracket, we ended up with Opeth's Blackwater Park, and in the contributor bracket, we have Peter Gabriel's So.
What a diverse and fun collection.
And very surprising too. I mean, if you listen to the episode, there's albums within our brackets that they almost seem like they, especially if you know us or you've maybe listened to us for a unhealthy amount of hours, you'll recognize that there's some albums in our brackets that you may look at and say like, oh, well, that's going all the way. Like this is a just a formality here, but like, I don't think any of those got through. Like, maybe I kind of saw one of the Tom Petty had like 2 or 3 maybe like entries.
There was 3
so I was like,
Petty
maybe one of
from the
those
start,
get through,
yeah.
but like basically everything else other than that was a big surprise to see at the end. So check that out and look forward to those album episodes. But I did want to note that there was a fuck up in that in that episode. If you listen to the, I think it's the Opeth versus Rust in Peace matchup.
Oh.
At the end of it, I'm pretty sure you and Kyle vote through Rust in Peace, but I just blank it out and did like I think I basically say, if you two vote Rust in Peace, I'll put it through, and then you do, and then something happened and I just put
What
it
happened
anyway.
What happened was, I think you had mentioned the words like, if we don't vote Opeth through, we'll probably never get to touch on the Steven Wilson universe of things. And that was kind of my point of like,
It turned
all
into
right,
like a discussion.
let's
But
do it. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure in the
You might be
end-
right. Yeah.
In the end, I'm pretty sure you both said Rust in Peace, and then something happened. But technically, I did also offer the ability for us to veto any one match. I don't think we actually ever used it, but so we'll all just
No.
pretend that I actually used my veto power and put through Opeth, even though I probably wouldn't have if I was awake and understood what was happening. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, like,
corrections and
it-
omissions for the Indy 500.
if Blackwater Park is number 4, Rust in Peace is 4B. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, either one would have been great to talk about.
Yeah,
And,
I still look forward.
yeah, and again, God willing, we'll do this every year, so that doesn't mean it can't come back.
Yeah.
And get its own moment in the sun anyway.
All right. So back to Is This It? Let's talk a little bit about the release year and context in which this album is dropping. As we travel back in time to and it gets a little bit convoluted here because technically the album first came out in that summer because there were Japan and Australia releases of the album that happened in July and August, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And like they weren't such a big thing at that time that I think, there was like import mania or anything like that. But,
There
some
was
people who were
download
in the
mania.
know, yeah, people who were in the know, were able to hear it early, basically. But the wider world of the USA actually got their official release on October 9th of 2001. So
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk
I
about
focus
it more
on
as we go on, but I remember ingraining that original uh, Euro release for so long that by the time the American one came out, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard this before.
Yeah,
And
there were at
wait,
least some
where'd that
tracks
one
where you're
song
like,
go? Yeah,
yeah, there are at least some tracks where you're like, okay, yeah, we've been hearing this for a little bit.
I've seen the last night video 604 times today, so I'm good.
Yeah. So I'll focus more on that October date here, but just keep in mind that yeah, it was out a little. It was actually out a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So in October, the number one song in the USA at the time, and I believe we have clips, is Alicia Keys' "Fallen." Yeah, I would say I'm an Alicia Keys fan. I think my favorite is the "This Girl Is on Fire."
This sex
dig
is
that
on
one.
fire.
Yeah, would have been maybe Kings of Leon would have won you over if it was a song that good.
Exactly.
Um,
No, I
but
mean, yeah, she's always been, the genre in general has never like been a huge thing for me, but no denying she's super talented and great singer, great writer, great piano player, and seemingly just a good presence.
Yeah. So this song, "Fallen," is the lead single from her debut album, which is called "Songs in A Minor." And settle down there, Drake. It was it was her first big hit. It was her first big hit. It won her 3 Grammys, including Song of the Year, Best R&B Song, Best Female R&B Performance, and the album was nominated for Album of the Year that year. It was only beat out on the Billboard End of the Year list by Lifehouse's "Hanging by a Moment," which I feel like I don't recall, but if I heard it, I bet I would recall.
There's a reason you don't.
Yeah.
It was like the most derivative post grunge garbage.
I mean,
Like,
that,
wow,
yeah,
are we
I
really in that
recognize
bad of a
Lifehouse
gap?
as that, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
A writer at Enemy said about the song, and I'm so mad I did not dig into this and try and figure out who said this, because if it was somebody we had talked to before, well, let me read it off and you'll understand why. So a writer at Enemy said, quote, "It's a massive, massive hit with piano tinkles, drum machine coughs like an asthmatic whippet, and Alicia strokes your spine with ice cubes and spatters your spotty back with hot candle wax." So, again, somebody needs to settle down.
Man, 2001 was very horny, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mr. Jones, Mr. Renshaw, Mr. Woodhouse. If this
Mr.
was one
Woodhouse.
of you, we need to talk again. Or we need
Or
one
not.
of you to we
Yeah.
need one of you to turn in the suspect so we can talk to them.
Just call 1-900-IFP, guys.
Yeah, Indy 500 pit stop. What you said about Alicia Keys.
/ sexy reviews.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Speaking of which, the number one song in the UK is Kylie Minogue's "Can't Get You Out of My Head." And I tell you what, you may not have guessed, but that's like one of my favorite songs of all time.
You said that to me. I wasn't sure if you were joking or if you meant it in the
I'm-
sense of like, I
I'm
fucking hate
not.
that song.
No, I'm not joking. I actually really, really like that song. I think it's good overall, but like that bell synth bass sound, on the like offbeat, like That's the hook that gets me, and then the rest of it, I'm like, you know what, this is good. Like,
I mean, you know, if you're gonna dig that, you know, type of pop, like that's a perfect example of it right there.
yeah, I would say that is very much kind of the starting point of, at least for me, of like, oh, pop is starting to just become house music sometimes, and I really like house music.
Right, right.
So what's happening here?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's God, that song was everywhere. Both those songs, really. I mean,
Yeah.
they were number one for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, I believe they both
But
stayed on the charts for quite a while.
I forget the age gaps for you and your brothers, but I know too, like when I got home from school, my sister would have on like MTV's TRL, is that what it's called? Total Request Live with Carson
Yeah.
Daly. And
Yeah.
you know, these are videos that would just be in constant rotation in there. And yeah, I'd walk through the living room. There's Kylie, there's Backstreet Boys, there's Fred Durst.
Yeah, I want to say the brother directly below me is a little younger, so I didn't have that, but I was vaguely aware of of TRL. We were more Matt Pinfield guys, so
True.
so
And MTV2 was actually doing pretty well at that time too, with like
yeah, and I had
some reviving some of those like rock avenues and metal, and you know, even playing Beavis and Butthead and Ren and Stimpy.
yeah, and I don't know why, but the one that I really glommed onto at the time was I think it was like actually a Canadian version of MTV called Much Music, and that's where I got a lot of my. I lived in like an alternate MTV universe where like certain
Where Lifehouse had
certain
never
tracks
been.
that didn't cross over
Yeah.
were kind of big to me because I was like, oh, I'm watching Much Music all the time.
Where yeah. I remember. Okay, I do remember that now. Yeah, and yeah, and I think VH1 still had music then too. But enough of Old Man Corner. Tell me more about this 2001.
Yeah, so Can't Get You Out of My Head. It comes from Kylie's 8th album called Fever. It's written and co-produced by a duo of Kathy Dennis and Rob Davis.
Did you say eighth
Rob
album?
Davis,
You say eighth album?
yeah,
Wow.
her 8th album. Yeah, prolific Kylie is. My Yoda impression there. Written and co-produced by a duo of Kathy Dennis and Rob Davis. Rob Davis was formerly a guitarist and founding member of a moderately successful proto-glam band called Mud. And they were both kind of partnered and assigned to create music for different pop artists on the Universal UK label. Kind of like their version of Nile Rodgers, just bopping around to different artists, being like, "Hey, here's something might fit you." Kathy was a singer-songwriter in the '90s who actually had a number of top 10 hits that came from her album called "Move to This." But she actually later found even more success because she was a co-writer on a bunch of like multi-platinum songs, including Toxic by Britney Spears and I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. So
Yeah, those hit big.
not a lightweight. Somebody who is probably swimming in royalty money there as
Yeah,
a writer for those. Yeah.
that's impressive. Yeah.
They originally pitched "Can't Get You Out of My Head" to UK pop supergroup S Club 7, who actually declined and said no thank you. All of the music other than the guitar part on the song is programmed and played on a Korg Triton synth workstation, which is pretty cool. I think that is just like one keyboard basically. It went
It's
to
an
number
epic
one.
classic keyboard, but it's just
Yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It went to number one in 40 different countries worldwide. It was certified 3 times platinum in the UK and peaked at number 7 in the USA. And I would not be sad if we just played it under the entire episode as I go. There you go. The USA in 2001 is So earlier in this year, the presidency changes hands from Bill Clinton to George W. Bush. Also this year, Extreme Champion Wrestling holds its final pay-per-view titled Guilty as Charged at the Hammerstein Ballroom in NYC. And the company files for bankruptcy 2 months later. Do you recall watching ECW's Guilty as Charged?
I've seen it a couple times.
Okay.
So
Does anything jump out at you from it?
I'd have to look at a recap again, but
Yeah.
it was kind of one of those like I had found this thing. My dad had satellite in the mid '90s, and ECW, at least on the West Coast, wasn't like a cable thing ever. So like every weekend I'd go to his house and it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna watch Madison Square Garden TV at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and holy shit, what is this? What is this show? This is amazing. It's got babes, it's got blood, it's got barbed wire. It's crazy. And then by the time it had finally got like a national distribution deal with, I think it was TNN, the Nashville network. They kind of went bankrupt and folded into WWE like everybody else. So it was just like, oh well, great. Now that we're together, you're leaving me again. So sad. But no, I loved it. Some of my favorite wrestling to watch over the years. It's just insane stuff and crazy characters and gosh, yeah. I mean, you keep going. I'm gonna look up that card real quick.
All right. Well, I will say the one note I wrote down on it was that advertisements for that event promoted that Scott Hall, who listeners may know better as Razor Ramon, he was actually advertised to be at the show, but his manager, A1 Paul Heyman, pulled him out of the event. Feel free to punch in whenever you can there, but I'll keep going. At the Super Bowl, number 35, I believe, the Baltimore Ravens won over the New York Giants, which gave them their very first Super Bowl win. Also this year, NASCAR
Who's
legend.
quarterback on that one?
Oh, geez, I meant to look that up.
I'm on it.
Put that in your queue. Just feel free to just blurt it out whenever you find it.
Yeah.
NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt. This is the year that he died in a crash on the last lap of the 43rd annual Daytona 500. The big winner at the Academy Awards that year was Gladiator, which won 5 of its 12 nominations, including Best Picture. We haven't had the Oscars yet this year, have we? Did we?
Yeah,
Oh, we did.
we sure did.
I don't know why. I was sitting and watching one battle after another last night, and I was like sitting and watching it, going like, "Oh man, I wonder if this is going to get It did get Best Picture. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I haven't finished
first,
it, but it's very
I
good.
it's yeah. I want to watch it again maybe in a month, and I think you sent me
God.
just a note how relevant it is to right now, and yeah, it's
It's
maybe not
Kojima-esque in its depiction of it has to be wild to the people that made that like, the way that they depict basically the federal government, the army and the police interacting with Americans, and then having it come out and be like, this was meant to be like over the top and exaggerated, and like
right.
it almost isn't.
Yeah, we didn't make Sean Penn's character crazy enough, or have enough contradictories in his life. 2001 Baltimore Ravens. Elvis Gerbach was the quarterback.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you recall.
Yeah.
Randall Cunningham had 2 games started during the regular season. So some notable players on there. Shannon Sharp was on there as the tight end. Let's see. We had where's the running backs? I want to say that was like Jamal Lewis era, but that might even be before that. But we had Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson. Yeah, so this is like defense first all the way. Carnell Lake. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty defensive heavy team. Who else? Dwayne Starks. Yeah, so I remember that team, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the game.
I remember Ray Lewis. You know, speaking of people whose reputations have colored their their past achievements. Also in 2001, Mel Brooks's The Producers opens on Broadway. The first Shrek movie came out in May of 2001. Oh, and a little something happened on September 11th. The U.S. is attacked in 4 separate incidents of airliner hijackings targeting New York City's Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and I want to say the one that they claim the passengers overtook, but we're pretty sure that they actually shot down. I think that one was headed for the White House.
Was that the one in Pennsylvania that landed?
Yeah, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, you know. America, of course, responded to the attacks with measured restraint, utilizing the widespread sympathy from the international community to build its reputation as the moral compass of the world, and calmly prosecuting the assailants and their organizations in the traditional way that terror attacks were treated before 9/11, which is as a federal criminal investigation with the help of Interpol.
Which universe was this in?
Yeah, just kidding. Nope. We all went insane. We enabled George W. Bush and his Republican Party to permanently shred our constitutional rights with the Patriot Act, which happened almost immediately after.
Yeah.
We destroyed our reputation abroad with a sweeping war on terror, which would plunge the country into a 25-year-long conflict with a quixotic mission of ending terror somehow.
And still going.
Yeah, culminating in, of course, the Second Iraq War, a war of aggression that would kill thousands of Americans and millions of Iraqis. It plunged their country into sectarian war for decades. It drained hours of hundreds of billions of dollars and erased our international standing forever, destabilizing the region to this day. So, yeah. I've always very much felt, and I remember feeling it very, very shortly afterwards, that our response, I mean, I don't think it's debatable at this point, but our response to 9/11 caused way more damage than 9/11 itself ever could have.
Yeah.
Could
I
have
mean,
done.
how are you going to kill an idea? You know, the idea of like, we don't like what you stand for. This idea of, you know, we label somebody a terrorist and we kill them. Oh, wow, that's going to do really good for their family and their
Yeah.
friends and their supporters. Like, no, you cut off the head, 3 will grow in its place.
I mean, I suppose like if it was a cerebral or philosophical war, and the idea was, you know, maybe using U.S. soft power to go in and support, you know, more, you know, the more progressive, you know, do aid programs to kind of, I mean, this is what we were doing before, basically. Like you go in, you build bridges, you build hospitals, and you put up a sign that says, hey, America did this. And, you know, maybe, you know, we've had a past in this region. Maybe some of those people who were angry about, you know, your past actions in the region look at it and say, well, but they also do this, and, you know, they also have supported this or that. And, you know, if that was the idea behind fighting or trying to destroy terrorism, like that's debatable on whether that works, but at least it's debatable. The idea that's not debatable is that you can stop terrorism by bombing from overhead, you know, killing people, killing innocent people, especially. I mean, that's the opposite. That's how you.
Yeah, no resentment.
That's a tried and true way to create terrorism, and it's not like they didn't know that, you know. It's all just that's you knew we were going to
Yeah.
talk about it on this episode.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
talked about it on episodes where albums didn't come out like a month after 9/11.
True. I mean, hey, it's almost been 25 years, which is both astounding and also like, really, 25 years? Holy shit. I remember walking by your house to pick you up on the way to school, and I think you were still half asleep. Probably threw a shoe at you and said, "Hey, wake up! The East Coast is under attack." And then we walked to school, and oh, looks like we're not going to have a normal day today.
I recall my recollection of it was that so I don't think we've talked about this on the pod, but back in high school, you on the way to school, and I don't know how this was my place actually on the way to school from your place, or did you do like a circuitous route? This is just for me. I've thought about this for a while and I couldn't figure it out. Like I can't
It
remember
wasn't the
geography back then.
shortest straight line.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a mix.
Like I was on 27th, the school was on 40th. I
Oh
want to
boy,
say
we're
you were on
doxing ourselves
35th. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then, but it was like 4 blocks up the hill, and then the rest of the way to the school.
And then we aimed ourselves back to the school. Okay.
yeah, triple
so
through the woods and blah blah
suffice
blah.
to say, Helio would walk from his place to my place and wake me up so that we would both walk to school. And on the morning of 9/11, my recollection is Helio woke me up by throwing a Boba Fett action figure at me. And when I woke up, he said, yeah, something to the effect of, "Hey, wake up! The East Coast is under attack." And my recollection of my response was, "What, like the Hank Scorpio episode of The Simpsons?" And like exactly. I don't recall even getting a real sense of it until we got to school, and like they had rolled out TVs so we could watch 9/11 all day. Like I mean, I
I
understand
could be
you don't know
completely
what
wrong.
to do at that point, but
Right, but I'm pretty sure we bounced
but is
by
the
10.
answer really? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we bounced by 10, and either we went to our respective houses or we just hung out at mine watching MTV and kind of like giggling / like, oh my god, this is surreal. Like, we're gonna go now live to Ja Rule. Ja, what do you think of this?
Oh yeah.
Why are we interviewing Ja Rule about 9? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no right or wrong answer. We don't know what to do.
I
This
mean,
is
for
new.
for years and years after that, like nobody. I mean, besides the people who just kind of instinctually became rage monsters about it, but like even people who were not that way, everybody had no idea how to act or respond or think about
Yeah.
about it, and yeah, it was a wild stuff.
Weird, wild stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
So,
right. Yeah.
rounding out the year, or actually in so in the release month of October specifically that year, Barry Bonds breaks the single season home run record with his 71st and 72nd home runs of the year. Listen to how quickly this happens. The U.S. Office of Homeland Security is established. So, like, not even a month later, we're already getting into stuff like that.
Yeah.
That October, the first iPod is released in the USA, and Microsoft releases Windows XP, which is perhaps the last actually good version of Windows, maybe.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's usually
I think there's
a pretty
decent
good
ones
one.
after that, but I think that's the last one where everybody was like, "Holy shit, this is the best thing ever."
right.
Windows
Tens-
is going to rule.
10's decent comparison to 11, but it's not as good as XP. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the difference of getting hit with a bat and getting hit with a spiked bat. Rounding out the rest of the year, this is a pretty sweet year for technology. The iPod, Windows XP. Microsoft releases the very first Xbox, which also I think means that that's when Halo first shows up. Yeah, I remember being pretty blown away by that one. I think one of the last days of that school year, somebody like brought their Xbox and like 4 controllers to one of the classes, and again, rolled out the giant TV on rollers, and like everybody was like playing 4-player Halo.
Awesome.
Driving around with the vehicles and shit. I was like, oh my god, what's
I
happening?
remember
to video
originally,
games?
I remember originally thinking like, "Pfft, what the hell is like the Office people gonna do making a video game system?
Yeah.
But there's no way that's ever gonna work.
I've got the Dreamcast. I don't need any of this.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
boy.
You have the stereo people with their PlayStations, and you have the software Office people with their Xbox. Oh, I'll stick with my Dreamcast. Oops.
History may have proved us right on that one.
Yeah. Next week, tune in for how I bought a lot of HD DVD before Blu-ray
Oh.
was the
Oh, yeah.
crown winner.
Yeah, I did that. I think I gave my parents an HD DVD player for Christmas one year. I was like, this is gonna be it. So also at the end of that year, the first Harry Potter film was released. This is a very canceled people heavy episode. Which is interesting because I don't believe anybody in the Strokes has been canceled. I mean, I think they're naughty kids in general back in those days, but I don't think they actually did anything.
I mean,
over
Mr.
the
Hammond
line.
had his drug issues, but far from canceled. Yeah.
That's that's hurting yourself. That's not hurting other people.
Yeah.
So, what else is going on here? Yes, the much better film series Lord of the Rings also kicks off with the Fellowship of the Ring coming to theaters that year. Beatle George Harrison dies following a battle with lung cancer, and Gary Ridgway, aka the Green River Killer, is arrested in Renton, Washington, marking the end of one of the longest running searches for a serial killer in U.S. history. Also, oddly
That was
enough,
what,
if I had
25 years? That was like a 25 year thing.
it was a big one. And oddly enough, if I had a nickel for every time Gary Ridgway came up on our NME Top 500 Albums List podcast, I would have 2 nickels now, which is not a lot, but is odd.
It's also not nothing. Yeah.
No, yeah. Over in the United Kingdom, Tony Blair is Prime Minister and will shortly after this preside over a landslide general election for the Labour Party, which I believe installs David Cameron as one of whatever their guys are, Parliament. Elizabeth II is still reigning as monarch, and the rural and agricultural communities are rocked by a year-long outbreak of foot and mouth disease. And I will count as a win for them. I did not see any specific economic news that said that they were like eating shit that year. I did see that it was like a banner year for car sales there, which I think would correlate.
Usually a good
to,
indicator. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were also, I don't think it was dead by then, but I think they were manufacturing cars, so it sounds like they were doing okay. It's totally possible they weren't, and I just didn't see it. But
Well, I mean,
almost every other episode, it's very specific. Like this year was a terrible year for.
I was gonna say we've done 34, 35 of these, and it's generally the tone is, well, it was a tough time in UK economics.
everybody was homeless and poor. So no specific note about that this year that jumped out at me. But elsewhere, Sacha Baron Cohen wins a BAFTA award for the Ali G show. Liverpool FC wins the UEFA Cup, which is their first European trophy in 17 years. In September, 1 million British children in over 3,000 schools participate in a science experiment to discover if it is possible to create an earthquake by having them all jump off of tables and chairs at the same time. The answer turns out to be no. You cannot cause an earthquake by having 1 million children jump off of chairs. Yes.
Yeah, so it's not.
The Indy 500 science corner.
That does remind me of a 2001 adjacent anecdote, though. Were you in electronics class with me?
I don't think I was.
Okay. I remember because I was telling someone about this the other day, for coincidentally, um, there was an earthquake in around 2001, I want to say, and was in electronics class at the time with a soldering pen, putting something together, and just remember like, oh my God, why is everything shaking? And I looked around the room, stuff starts falling off, and oh my God, we're having an actual legit earthquake. And
Yep.
here we are with soldering pens, like trying to hide under the workbenches, and it's like, oh God, don't fall on me.
Yeah. I do,
So,
I do recall it happening while I was at school, but yeah, I was definitely, I think I was in the video production room at the time.
oh, okay.
And I remember getting under a table, and then when I realized it wasn't like the big one, I remember like thinking like, oh, I wonder if everything in our china cabinet at home is okay. But that was
Yeah.
about it. It was not that bad.
No, I don't know. It was an interesting time.
Yeah. The only person I found born in October of 2001 is an actor named Caleb McLaughlin, who he plays Lucas on Stranger Things. Have you watched Stranger Things?
I'm on the 4th season now, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Okay, so
catching up on it gradually.
you may appreciate my I have like I don't know, if I was a stand-up comic, I would slot this into my act, but basically so the premise of Stranger Things basically is like every season they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? And like coincidentally every season like the bad guy that they're fighting in their Dungeons and Dragons game like becomes real and kills people, terrorizes their town, puts all of their lives in danger, right?
I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah. So this happens at least 2-3 seasons in a row, and then at some point, perhaps in the season that you're watching, Lucas like decides he wants to play basketball rather than play D&D with them, right? And they all get like mad at him. And it's like, well, guys, think back to what's happened every single time we've played Dungeons and Dragons. Like, people have died.
Sorry
I
for being
please-
the one sane one here.
Yeah, can I please just have a year where I can play basketball instead? And they're like, no, you need to, Tormentor the Dementor is terrorizing Baldur's Gate, and
I mean, believe
Like-
me, even as a 42-year-old, I still send texts trying to get people to play, but I don't, guilt trip them over it. Come on.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, and people aren't even dying because of your D&D game.
Well, that's a
Okay,
discussion
well, I
for
guess
another
that is a
time.
bit of an assumption on my part. All right. Well, now that we've thoroughly flown off the rails multiple times here, I think it's about time to bring it on back and actually talk about Is This It by The Strokes.
Yeah.
Once again, ranked number 4 on the NME Top 500 list. So the album itself, the seeds of Is This It are very much the same story as the band history that Helio just ran down. Everything that they were doing at the time was basically practicing and grinding away at the songs that end up being Is This It? All of the songs are written by Julian in the band's formative years, and some of them maybe even before that. But I have a quote here from Albert Hammond Jr. Via The Guardian. And he says, quote, Julian wrote the songs. I remember him coming in with the modern age. He'd be like, it's D to G. Yeah, kind of like that. But you're holding the chord wrong. And it took time, but it was magical. By the end of the night, we'd have the song done. And from the first moment, I knew that we would be successful. Julian and I made a tape in the flat of Alone Together and Soma. And when we played them in the car, they sounded really cool. So I had always heard, and I can't recall where I had heard it, but I had always heard that Julian initially maps out like the skeleton ideas of songs on a Casio keyboard. I don't have a source for that, but you appear to be nodding, so maybe you've heard the same thing somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing as well, that early on it was very much like the Julian show. Um,
Hmm.
and you guys are kind of along to play the parts that I hear and want for these songs. And it was kind of at like maybe second, third album was when he started letting them having more like writing
Yeah,
chops.
and I can kind
Just
of,
because
yeah,
it's
I mean,
kind
I
of like,
can
oh
believe
yeah,
it because I can kind of hear it
yeah,
on "Is This It?" Like it sounds like the parts all interlock a little too well for it to be like to be anything other than one person kind of figuring,
yeah, it's not
one
five
very talented
five
person.
corners coming together to, it's
Hmm.
definitely much a, here's how I visualize this.
Yeah, and they're
Let's
all kind of
let's let's
and they're all kind of bouncy and melodic in a way that like I would imagine kind of naturally results from playing with the coming up with the parts on a Casio keyboard.
totally.
Yeah. So shortly after signing with their US label RCA, the label teamed them up with a producer named Gil Norton to begin tracking for the upcoming album. Gil Norton had previously worked on stuff like Echo and the Bunnymen's Ocean Rain, a bunch of the early Pixies albums, the second Counting Crows album, Recovering the Satellites. He also did Foo Fighters, The Color and the Shape, which we discovered was recorded pretty close to us in your Woodinville area. Oh, sorry, you can beep that if you want.
No,
We're
that's
we're
totally fine.
we're
Yeah,
doxing our young selves and our old selves on this
I've
episode.
I've made no secret of my general geographic region,
All right, all right,
but Woodinville is a very nice area, very
yeah,
very wine forward.
yep. And he also produced a latter day Patti Smith album called Gung Ho.
Is that
So
the one where she tries to reclaim the word hoe?
I was, you know, I'm either proud or ashamed to say I had the exact same thought as I wrote that down. That's more her fault than ours. Anyways, so
Agreed.
by all accounts, those recording sessions went really well, and the band was very friendly with Gil, but they all kind of disliked the end product that came out of it. With someone in the band saying it was quote too pretentious and too clean. They did not like it. Um, and I did search around to see if those recordings ever saw the light of day because it definitely sounds like something that somebody would, you know, eventually find and put up. But oddly enough, I could not find them. The closest thing I saw was a Reddit thread where somebody claimed that they found a CDR at a secondhand store of it. And then, of course, it's like a million people under that photo of the, you know, it's got like the blank CD written on it and the tracks handwritten out on the little insert thing. And there's like a million people saying, "Oh, please rip this, please put this up somewhere." And of course, it doesn't look like it ever did. So I think it may have been a Frank
A
Sinatra
hoax.
boudoir style hoax. I'm pretty sure if anybody had actually found that, we would have these somewhere. So,
Oh yeah.
anyways, yeah. After that, the band insisted that they be allowed to return to Mr. Gordon Raphael's basement, where they recorded the Modern Age EP to record the rest of the album. RCA wasn't thrilled about it, but smartly said, "Yeah, go ahead."
I mean, proof's in the pudding on that one.
Yep. So here's Gordon Raphael once again via the Vice.com oral history. He said, "Quote." They felt the pressure. After the EP, they were definitely thinking that this was their sound and hoping I could get it again, but they also expressed doubts. Maybe it was just an accident. And it came to my attention very quickly after they signed to RCA in the US that the record label did not believe in me as a producer. What they had heard was scaring them that their investment was not going to be able to come through. So before recording anything for this, these next sessions, the band all spent a lot of time hanging out with Raphael and doing kind of listening sessions of albums that they thought kind of shared the vibe that they wanted for what would become Is This It? Reportedly, this meant sitting around and listening to a bunch of Guided by Voices albums. But in the end, they all said they were determined to kind of have a throwback sound.
Definitely mission accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, Raphael again, quote, when they stepped in the studio on day one of recording Is This It, it was like nothing I had ever done before. I could feel the world's ears and their hopes. For the band, there was this feeling, we've got this one chance, and they were obsessed with details and not letting anything that wasn't planned into the sound. Every single member of the band was like that, and they also had J.P. Bowersock, their guru, in the studio. And there's an editor's note. Bowersock was the band's original guitar teacher and is credited as their guru and sensei on first two albums. Hey, speaking of one battle, they have a sensei.
Sensei Bob.
From my quick research on Mr. Bowersock, he appears to be a New York studio musician and producer in his own right. But it's a total mystery why they didn't go to him for either the EP or the album if they're such good friends. Another
Well, from what I read, he was usually like in and out of the studio with them, you know, kind of throwing ideas at him. But it seemed like still very much a separate, like, I'm just here to influence and give you guys tools to work with, as opposed to like, you should do this idea, you should play this riff like this, more generalized.
Which is kind of interesting because their last album they recorded with Rick Rubin, and that's kind of his purported approach. You know, he's a very vibes based producer and claims that he doesn't know, you know, technical stuff or, you know, music theory and whatnot.
Just make it sound like this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, as you say, the proof is kind of in the pudding for a lot of Rick Rubin stuff. So, you know, I doubt his claims, but also, you know, whatever he's doing, it's working. Most of the time. We've noted that he has fucked up with I think Johnny Cash was the one that we took him to task on this show.
I want to say there was a Metallica moment or two as well.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
I believe so.
All right. Well, back to Mr. Gordon Raphael, speaking on the actual nitty-gritty of the recording process. He said, quote, they would never tell me that they wanted their voice brighter or something wasn't making them happy. They would just have big frowns on their faces, and then I would start turning knobs on every piece of equipment I have until their frowns turned into smiles. And that was my technique for working with the Strokes. He said the drum sound was recorded with only 3 microphones, one on the bass drum, one above Fabrizio's kit, and one in the corner of the studio. And Fab also requested that he keep in the kind of various sounds of guitars and bass that would cause his, you know, kit to make weird sounds when everybody was playing together. I think anybody who's played in a small space recognizes the sound of a snare drum kind of playing itself as usually a bassist.
That bass reverberation, totally.
Yeah.
That little
Yep.
No, I mean, that's actually pretty clever. I mean, I will say, like, the drum sound on this album is just so good and crisp. It's interesting to hear that approach in terms of, like, mic placement and everything, because so often you hear, like, oh, every single piece is
it has like a tiny
and dialed in
mic
a
on
certain
it.
way. Yeah, but no,
And you're
they went,
enclosed in a cube, or you're put in your own room at the bottom of a stairwell or whatever.
how dare you have any bleed over from any other instrument? Yeah.
Yeah. So Albert Hammond recorded using a 1985 Olympic white Stratocaster, which is a reissue of a 1972 model. Nick was recording using an Epiphone Riviera, which had its pickups replaced with Gibson P94s. And interesting enough, we were talking about this yesterday. I looked it up. So if you want an exact copy of Albert's guitar, it's a signature model from Fender, which will cost about $1,200. But actually, if you want to get a copy of Nick's guitar, like the actual signature model is only about $700, which is a little bit understandable because he's playing an Epiphone. He's not playing a Gibson, but
Right.
still, there's, the Fender's version, Fender's, budget line is the Squires, and there's signature models like John 5 has like a signature Telecaster on the Squire line, and I'm
Oh, he
pretty
does.
sure
I didn't know that.
there's still I'm pretty sure they're still like 800 and above.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, I think if you're not dead set on having like the exact same finish and pickups, I think you can still pick up the same guitar that Nick is playing for like even less than that, like maybe 500. So, check it out. Both of those guitars can be seen basically in any videos of them playing from the era. They they use them on everything basically. The only reported pedals that I saw noted for them using was a combination overdrive and distortion pedal called the Jekyll and Hyde, and they were playing into Fender DeVille amps that would be placed at opposite ends of the studio, and I believe they said they just hung one mic on each one.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's such a clean, classic sound. I mean, that you could have told me no pedals, and I probably would have totally understood it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, bass player Nikolai did play a Fender Jazz bass with no pedals, just straight into. I didn't find out what amp he played, but yeah, they said he was using nothing, just straight into an amp. The distinct effect on Julian's vocals that you hear is him singing into a small PV practice amp when he's singing along with the band in order to be heard over other instruments. And then when he's not singing with the band, he's being tracked into something called a Avalon 737 tube preamp / compressor, which I looked up and is a rack unit that's often noted for imparting warmth and life to low quality microphones. And it likely has its compressor like turned all the way up to kind of match that sound of the practice amp for the
I was
parts.
actually able to use the VST for that on the song when I recorded it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it definitely helps give it a little bit of that like harmonic buzz on the vocals and everything like that. It's pretty
A little
pretty
bit of
sexy
like
little
a,
device.
it's like lo-fi without being low qual.
It's like overdriven into lo-fi, but still, audible and clear.
Yeah, not
I don't know.
not thin. It's not reedy.
Right.
Yeah. This week on Sound Sommelier Corner, it has notes of the brown Marshall tone.
Has notes of being hit in the face with spare ribs at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Another, back to more quotes. This is Gordon Raphael in Far Out Magazine talking about the recordings. He says, quote, "It wasn't sonically perfect, but it had some magic and emotion that was missing in the big studio stuff that other bands were doing. And Julian had so many ideas and a freakishly controlled concept of rhythm and timing. Even when he had drunk 13 beers and was fast asleep on the couch, one eye would open and he'd say, 'Hey, that hi-hat's not right.' And he was a master of cryptic instruction. He would say, 'This song, can you loosen its tie a little?' And it was because he wanted to, or he would say he wanted his voice to sound like your favorite blue jeans, not totally destroyed, but worn in, comfortable."
I like that. I mean, I've always admired the musicians approach things from that conceptual, like, let's play in color, let's play in feel, as opposed to like, anybody can write down EAD, but let's.
Well, it reminds me of the Nile Rodgers story that he loves telling, where David Bowie like knocked on his door at some accursed hour, and he says, "Not Nile, darling, I want my album to sound like this," and he shows him a picture of futuristic Little Richard in a red Cadillac or something like that, and he's like, I know he's not saying he wants to sound like Little Richard. He wants to sound like futuristic and weird.
Exactly.
So,
no,
yeah.
It takes a certain
fun.
brain to interpret that stuff, and that's exactly why Nile's one of the best.
Yeah. So people, you may have noticed that the album has two different covers. This is a quote from Colin Lane, who was the photographer of the UK version of the album cover. He says, "My first commission from," I think this is a magazine or a newspaper, it says, "My first commission from The Face was to go photograph this unknown band. We did a bunch of pictures here in my house. Then we went on a little adventure and snuck up to the roof of a skyscraper. And later I got a call from the band, and they wanted to know if I'd be available to do their press shoot for the album. I brought my portfolio with me because I wanted them to see what else I had done. And the ass shot, as it's called, was in there. He said I had already had that shot before I ever met them. It was a photo of my ex-girlfriend. And during lunch, Julian, I can picture this like perfectly in my head. He says, during lunch, Julian was going through the portfolio and saw that photo and said, that would be a good cover. Would you mind? Like from the little bit of, like Meet Me in the Bath. I haven't watched all of Meet Me in the Bathroom and stuff, but I've seen Julian in that, and I can 100% picture him going through this person's photo portfolio, finding that photo specifically and being like, I like this.
And then planting one on Albert, telling him not to get jealous. Yeah, exactly.
He is simultaneous, and we may talk about this later, but he's simultaneously a complicated and not complicated man.
Yeah.
So the model in that photograph, as you mentioned, was Lane's then girlfriend. He said that the photo shoot was spontaneous and happened after she came out of the shower, and he recalled that a stylist had left that glove in his apartment, and he said, we did about 10 shots. There's no real inspiration. I was just trying to take a sexy picture. But one of the editors of the book, called The Greatest Album Covers of All Time, said about that cover, quote, it's either stylish and graphically strong, or it's a sexist smelled the glove travesty.
The moment I saw that one, that's immediately what I thought with the, but
it has to
obviously
be
not as,
it has to be
right.
purpose, I would say. So yeah, the U.S. release of the album was pushed back. It was originally supposed to come out on September 25th of 2001, but something had happened a little bit before September 25th of 2001 that pushed it back.
Was that Saturday Night Live?
It was Barry Bonds breaking the home run record.
That could have stopped a lot of things.
The most notable changes from the delay were the removal of a track called New York City Cops, which was replaced by When It Started. It's not difficult at all to find the track New York City Cops and figure out why they probably felt the need to replace that one. And then also the album cover changed from the quote ass shot to a image of subatomic particles in a bubble chamber. And of course most sources say the band and the label were being pressured by US retailers to change the cover art, for obvious reasons.
The beginning of the takeover of white Christian nationalism.
Yeah, but there was a representative from RCA who claimed that the band had actually contacted them before this Australian and Japanese release dates, trying to change the cover to that subatomic particles shot. Just saying that they liked it better. I have no idea why you would want to lie about something like that, but reportedly not simply because of Christian conservative Walmart pressure.
Because of Christian conservative band pressure, I guess.
Now into the aftermath, once the album was released. The word hype is basically invented for what was happening to the Strokes, like as this album is being released. So right after they finished the recordings, they dive into like a rigorous tour schedule. They start off with a month-long stand of weekly shows in Philadelphia. There's a sold-out headlining tour of the UK and Ireland, who, kind of much like I'm always saying about Mr. Tom Petty, like the UK over there was a little quicker to figure out how great these guys are than we were. And speaking of which, they end up on the cover of NME twice in just 3 months before the release of the album. It's not even that the album is out. They're on the cover twice in 3 months before the album is even out.
Yeah, I mean that's not the hype machine. I don't
That
know
tells
what the
you,
hell
yeah,
is.
that tells you how people felt about them at the time. Once the album did come out, it was universally well reviewed. It got 5 stars from NME, got a 9.1 from Pitchfork. It got a 4-star review in Rolling Stone, but is later updated to 5 stars in their Rolling Stone album guide. It wins Album of the Year awards from many publications, including NME, Entertainment Weekly, and Time Magazine. It peaked at number 71 on the UK album charts, but does eventually get certified gold there after staying on the charts for 5 months straight.
You said only 71.
Yeah, I don't.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't research, but I was wondering if maybe this is when we first start interacting with Napster. For
It's
certain
very
things.
much height of Napster, LimeWire, Audio Galaxy, all those
Yeah,
things are going
and-
on where, yeah, there's no way to track it.
And as much as you know, as much as they're having a moment, they may also be big fish in a small pond when it comes to rock music at this time. You know, I mean, this is the start of the revival, so maybe maybe it's not that this did buku sales itself, but it started
No,
something.
I mean, I think Linkin Park and Mudvayne and all those things were still the prominent rock sales, vehicles at that point. And it's just kind of interesting to hear that, like, for as big as that was, that's
Yeah,
where it
as big
kinda
as we
hit.
remember it. 71 in the UK. In America, it initially enters the Billboard Top 100 at number 74. But later it kind of re-peaks and it goes to number 33 after they appear on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, yeah, I mean, even that
which
seems low,
it
but
kind of
yeah.
explains it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by 2006, the album sold 2 million copies worldwide, including over 1 million in the US. So yeah, it's a bit of a slow burn.
Yeah, it gets there. Kind of the Pearl Jam 10 thing, right?
Yeah. So here's another quote from Far Out magazine. They say, "Still, the impact of Is This It was undeniable. Just as grunge had ostensibly wiped out the hair metal faction of the late 80s, the Strokes immediately rendered nu metal bands and rap rock clowns as terminally uncool. Behind them, a whole subculture of bands from the gothic suave of Interpol to the harried riot girl blast of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and the art punk experimentalism of TV on the radio suddenly made New York City the center of rock and roll." And then actually, I'm going to give the last word to our good friend Tim Jones, who, again, if you haven't checked it out, we have a episode right before this one where we interviewed him. He was basically NME's man on the front lines for the Strokes and New York rock at the time. He was actually living in New York as this album came out. He was there for 9/11. He tells his story, which is of course much better than ours.
To
he
tie
wasn't-
it all
he-
together to the intro, he was there, Gandalf.
Yeah. He wasn't in danger, but again, his story is much better than ours. So this is Tim Jones via the Vice.com oral history on Is This It? He said, quote, "One day they didn't exist, and then suddenly there's this picture of the coolest motherfuckers you've ever seen in your life. You don't even need to hear the music to realize they're going to change your life. They look sexy and dangerous and impossibly cool. And the difference between this lot and what came before was just so stark that the entire slate had just been wiped clean." He says, "For a while, it felt like there was a great new band coming out every week while I was at Enemy, and we got spoiled. When Arctic Monkeys came on the scene, I remember feeling like the supply would never run out. But of course, that was exactly when it had started to run out. By about 2006, some pretty ropey bands were doing the rounds, and you realized guitar music was ready to die again. But 5 years is a pretty good stint."
Wow, it's. I mean, I know I'd read that quote before, but yeah, hearing it again to think of it, it's just like, well, this has got like a 5-year shelf life. Ouch. Sad.
Yeah, and, and as we say almost every time we talk about a musical era, like it 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 feels like it was much longer than it was.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah,
I mean, like
famously
grunge.
grunge being
Yeah.
maybe
3, 4
2 to
years.
4
Yeah.
years, depending on your definition. Things like that.
Right.
Disco was 5 to 6, maybe.
Yeah.
That was a long one.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. This era really was. I mean, if you want to stretch it out, it probably is like 2000 to 2010, depending on who you include. But like, yeah, the strokes of it all was really only maybe up to 2006 or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a dividing line somewhere. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have had like the resurgent hype machine as Geese last year. I mean, that was kind of evident of the fact, like, yep, the scene needs something again. So here we go with another hype band.
Yep. So yeah. So what do you have any overall hot takes on the whole album?
I mean, definitely, I think one of those defining albums when I think of, the way music influenced my life around that time. We were seniors in high school and kind of waited for this to come out. Got the pirated pre-release, version, the European version that had all the songs on it and everything well before it actually came out. So it was kind of like oh yeah, you guys are gonna love that when you go buy it. Huh, great. Yep, I'm already listening to it. Cool. But I think there's some things too, like as a guy who'd only been playing guitar for 2 years at the time, but wanting to be in a band, I could hear this music finally that was good, was new, but was playable to me. Like I could pick up a guitar and strum out the chords to Last Night. And so for me, it was kind of a connection, to say like, oh yeah, not all good music has to be this over the top shreddy guitar stuff, Van Halen and Joe Satriani, and you know, that's okay that you're not there yet. Like this stuff's still really good. So like the Strokes and the Misfits, these power chord driven bands with nice little hooks and melodies became a lot more important, in establishing playing as well as just connecting with you guys. I think one thing we've talked a little bit about too is the concert experience these days. I famously, old man will tell people, I got to see the Strokes and the Moldy Peaches for $6, at a venue in Tacoma that held maybe 1,000 people. And like, I look back at one of those, like, I know how big they were because of the hype and the magazines and everything. Yet,
The Beaches.
of course, yeah. Yet, I get like kind of one of those, hipster moments of I was there, before it really broke through. I want to say Rick Quinn and I were at that one, and I famously walked away despising the Moldy Peaches and enjoying the Strokes. But when we were talking with Tim, I kind of just remember feeling like they're good. They played the album, live, but kind of in terms of them, just kind of felt flat on stage. But you still loved them. So they're still rock gods, that you could relate to, your age, your generation, and everything. But they weren't Cedric and Omar or other guys that I've looked up to more from that time frame. So yeah, I mean, super important. Heard it front to back, God, 100 times and 10 more
Of
times
course.
since we pulled it. For me, I don't know why, but I never got into their other albums as much, or even like, I'm sure I've heard them all straight through at one point, but apart from a radio hit or two, I couldn't tell you anything that they've done. So I don't know. It's kind of exists in a weird space of like, this one album meant a lot to me. The band's a super interesting group of people, but like it's a very limited time and place for me.
Yeah. I was I was gonna say, like, basically, I think out of all the albums on the list that we have done and we're gonna do, I don't think there's a more like momentary kind of perfect storm as Is This It. Like, so many things kind of in and outside of the band like come together at this very like this really really like just very specific moment. You know, like everyone in general is saying, "Oh, rock music is dead," but of course, what they really mean is like, "Hey, can someone get us some normal fucking rock music over here, please?" Um, you know, New York had become the focal point of the entire country after 9/11, you know, which is not
World even, yeah.
not, yeah, the whole, yeah, again, the whole, yeah, again, like, yeah, the whole world is looking at New York. The band is a certified bunch of cutie pies. um, Women want them, men want to be them, fish fear them. And like, look, you know, Mr. Tim Jones can say whatever he wants about everybody being driven crazy by a photo of them because of how cool, you know, cool they are. But, you know, I know, and you know, at least when it comes to the visuals, this is a boy band. It's 5 good-looking young guys locked at the hips, looking cool on stage. You know,
Fashionable.
It's just,
you know,
yeah, it's just in a,
trendsetting,
it's just
yeah.
in a different, it's just in a different wrapper. But I mean, this is the textbook makeup of a boy band. Like,
This is
that's
in
not hurting
essence
either.
like right the concept of the Sex Pistols put together, but musically talented. You know.
Yeah, I was, you know, and my my last note here was, but most importantly, like the album is really it's almost perfect, and it's recognized. You know, it's immediately recognized as such, and like yeah, so like all that stuff comes together, and yeah, they're overhyped, but like the trick of it all is, it's really like, especially at that moment, it's really not by that much. like like they really were living up to that for a good long time. And yeah, like, you know, the kind of image and the legend does eventually outpace them, you know, like you were saying. And like Tim Jones says, you know, all 3 of us were kind of disappointed seeing them live, but, you know, is that maybe a product of, you know, this whole Strokes ecosystem of the
Right.
legend and the hype of them.
Not everybody
So
is the
like,
Rolling Stones. You know.
yeah, but you know, the to make an album like this and keep everybody like genuinely wondering, even if it's just for a few years, like genuinely wondering, like, is this band like the biggest thing of all time? Like that in itself is an achievement to keep up for as long as they did.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's like, no, not, I mean, like maybe not single-handedly, you know, they didn't change music for all time, but when you count all the, you know, hands that were involved, I don't think it, you know, it's definitely not possible to deny that the Strokes were like, you know, probably the main ones behind it, right?
I mean, they definitely steered, you know, the course of rock, alternative, and indie
Yeah,
music,
exactly.
you know, in a positive direction for for 25 years since. I mean, if there wasn't kind of this band to glom onto, you know, sure, maybe Interpol's that anointed great successor, maybe the Yeah Yeah Yeahs have a major, you know, impact even more so. But at the end of the day, like what the Strokes brought in terms of hype, eyes on the New York scene, you know, getting, you know, that kind of rock music back into like the main social dialogue, you know, of pop culture, you know, it was huge. And I think, yeah, to your point, like this album delivers on the hype. It's
Yeah.
just that everything afterwards was maybe unrealistic to expect something greater. Um, you know, even like I said, the Stones, the Beatles, Nirvana. Like if Kurt was still alive today, you know, would every single album be as impactful as Nevermind? Probably not. You know, there's probably going to be a few clunkers in there eventually. You know, were all the Beatles solo material just as good as like the band itself? No. So I think it's unfair to expect that everything they were going to make ever was going to be, you know, the savior of rock and roll. But this one album sure gave it a
Yeah.
good kick in the pants to bring it back
They
into the spotlight.
yeah, they have they have one,
Yeah,
which is
and they
one more
have had
than
good
everybody
songs. Yeah,
else.
exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's number 4 on this list for God's sakes. I mean,
Yeah.
that says a lot.
All right. Well, before we advance, I'm getting dirty looks of people who need breakfast. So we'll have to do a part two maybe at some point here. Hopefully this weekend.